Fall is here and farmers are hitting the fields to bring in their crops.
Combines get rolling, harvest is underway. We'll have an update coming up.
Farmers can breathe a little easier now. The drought is over. I'm Sydney Edwards, and I'll have more tonight on this year's rain patterns.
Higher ethanol blends are back on the market. It's time to grow. It should be a fantastic harvest of soybeans, a record-setting year in fact, but as farmers climb into the combines, they're worried where all that grain will go when it comes to trade. NTV's Steve White has more.
Andy Smith stares out at blue skies.
Glad to be back in the saddle.
His mom runs the grain cart while he takes turns with his dad running the combine, where he says soybeans look nearly perfect.
Bean yields, at least for us and the people that I've talked to, are going to be extremely strong.
USDA numbers back that up, forecasting record yield per acre and record production across the state and nationwide. But much of that grain will go into farmers' bins or sit at the elevator awaiting buyers.
There's more preparation for ground piles at our local elevators than I can say I have ever seen.
We just got started yesterday.
Neighbor Doug Sadoff serves on the Nebraska Soybean Board. He says the USDA's $6 billion trade relief package won't go far.
That aid isn't going to amount to much. It might pay a few bills, but that's about it.
Sadoff says if farmers contracted soybeans at a good price, they might be all right.
If you don't have them priced, yeah, it's going to be pretty ugly. But, hopefully we can get something figured out with the trade. And, that might take a few months, even if we do. Even if it gets done tomorrow, it's going to take a few months to get things figured out there.
Many farmers are split over President Trump's handling of trade.
I mean, I voted for him. I believe in what he's trying to do for the farmer, and I got good faith that he'll get the job done. Sometimes you got to play hardball.
Andy says higher yields may help soften the blow as harvest brings optimism about a strong crop.
Very impressed with the way things have gone.
The path to peace on the trade war between the United States and China is getting harder to find as the world's two largest economies place even more tariffs on each other's products. The United States is scheduled to slap tariffs on $200 billion in Chinese imports Monday, adding to the more than $50 billion worth that already faces U.S. import taxes. China has vowed to counterpunch with tariffs on $60 billion in U.S. goods. Now on to crop progress. The USDA says that field conditions have been ideal this week. The latest crop progress report shows 82% of corn rates good to excellent, 12% fair. Just 6% poor or very poor. 4% of corn has been harvested. On soybeans, 84% rates good to excellent, and 3% of beans have been harvested. And harvest is the subject of our most recent poll question. We asked if harvest is underway in your area. Most folks say it has definitely started, but not in full swing just yet, and we suspect that'll change quickly. So our question of the week, we hear different terms. What do you call it when you harvest soybeans? Do you combine them or cut them, pick them, or use a different term? Follow Grow on Twitter to cast your vote. Higher ethanol blends are now available as the summer driving season comes to an end. Under federal rules, sales of 15% ethanol blends known as E15 are restricted from June to mid-September. President Trump has expressed support to make the fuel available all year, something the state's corn growers strongly support. Farmers say blending more ethanol would increase demand for corn at a time they can use a boost in prices.
We can get some things done like our E15 all the way through the year, and some opportunities to strengthen the RFS. But when it comes right down to it, what we really need to do is get consumers that realize the benefits of ethanol, not only to them from a health standpoint, but from a cost per mile standpoint, and from an advantageous what it does for the economy and the advantages that we get through that.
Farmers can breathe a little easier now as the National Drought Mitigation Center has cleared the state of drought conditions. NTV's Sydney Edwards has more on how the rain has helped farmers.
Since June of 2017, several parts of the state have been in a drought. But beginning last week, drought conditions have been cleared.
We really need a little bit here and there. We can't go stretches of, 3 weeks without a rain.
Bladen farmer Darren Niemeyer says it seems like this drought has lasted years. He says it's been tough on crops, but crop yield isn't the only concern.
I think at times the livestock actually took more of a beating. I mean, we had to supplement, a lot of proteins, maybe even cheat a little bit and give them some feed at the end of the year to tie them over to when the stalks are ready to graze and things like that.
He says they've seen more timely rains this year, making it a blessing on their fields and their pockets.
We saved a ton of money on irrigating this year. The pastures look so much better. The cows actually have, green grass to graze in August and September opposed to nothing but dry sticks.
Niemeyer says a lot of the times it's in the winter that our droughts start. He says if the next season stays wet, they might change crop rotation.
If things look promising, we might dip into more cover crops and grazing cover crops that way too, and give the pastures even a little more rest, or maybe we could even start increasing the cow herd a little bit.
Drought patterns might be gone for the time being in Nebraska, but bordering states are still seeing dry seasons. The National Drought Mitigation Center says South Dakota, Colorado, and Kansas are still a bit dry. Niemeyer says if he has any advice for the farmers out there, they should not overgraze their fields.
You're not bringing in as much money to begin with the drought, and then you're trying to thin the herd a little bit, and that even seems to lessen it. But in the long run, it's probably better for the pasture to not overgraze it.
Darren Niemeyer says farmers really don't ask for much, just a bit of rain every few weeks. Sydney Edwards, NTV News, Bladen.
Later on NTV's Grow, we have a look at the latest drought monitor, but up next we have expert advice for diversified farms. Stay with us.